This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
So let's ask our buddy Tom Murphy of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette and Whole Hog Sports.
What does it mean, Tom?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Good morning, Tom. We will ask football and baseball, but since Tommy alluded to it, let's start there. I mean, what are your thoughts on Jordan's upcoming decision that has to be made by this Sunday?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you as usual. I don't know. I took it kind of like probably everybody else did, that what are you saying here, buddy? But I think him wearing Hogs gear, and based on what he said post-game at the NCAA, is that his intention is to come back. So I'm going to roll with that until I hear any different. How about that?
That works for me. Now, he's, again, a big piece that you could potentially add back to this roster, but Musselman has been adding pieces all over the place. 5 transfer additions, including the latest in L. Ellis. Tom, what have you thought about the collection of players that Eric Musselman and his staff have recruited and gotten to commit to this point?
Well, the overarching thought is that he knew they needed some better three-point shooting. So there's guys who have higher, percentages in the 30s from shooting a three, and a big infusion of backcourt depth. And it looks like Barry Dunning is already gone, and it looks like Pinion and Ford are still on the roster. So that gives you a lot of backcourt help. And I tell you, the numbers, it's starting to look like they're not expecting Devo Davis to come back from the portal, or from declaring for the NBA. So I don't know. That's a lot of backcourt. It leads me to think they believe they hope to hold on to Mekhi Mitchell. So we'll see how it all plays out. I mean, they always have a plan, but as it has been for the last 2 years, Eric Musselman and his staff are going to have to do a really good job in the locker room at creating team chemistry and camaraderie to make the roster all fit together.
Yeah, it does certainly look guard heavy at this point. Leaves you wondering, what that mix and what that's going to be there. Hey, let's shift to football, because I know that was on a lot of people's mind. You spent a lot of time in the last few days trying to piece together kind of what we saw on Saturday. So let's start there. Let's start with the offensive side of the ball, because I think there's more conversation maybe even on the defensive side of the ball to have. But what were your thoughts as K.J. Jefferson, who looks slimmer and faster, led that offense on Saturday under new OC Dan Enos?
Right. If things go according to the plan, I think they're going to be a solid offense. There had been times during the spring where they were concerned about protecting. And with the defense sending guys at KJ, coming around the edges, the tackle's not holding up so well, and that was a concern. But I do think in the scrimmage, when they went against the twos, when they went against the ones, they had some success. Now, KJ did have a intentional grounding call when they went into 2 minutes, and that was about probably the most concerning deal. But I think they're going to have enough collection of tailbacks, obviously, and I think they're going to end up having a good receiver core for KJ to work with. And it looks different. I mean, when you watch them all spring, you just don't see the quarterback run component as much. I mean, they run some, but it's different when you see it in games when KJ can break a tackle or KJ can get out of a sack. And I just think they're going to be okay on offense.
Defensively, the secondary, I guess, is still the place. It seems like Landon Rogers and some guys up front, we've found maybe a few edge rushers perhaps, but secondary is going to be littered with new names, and then maybe Hudson Clark's going to be the one guy at safety, back there that is probably maybe as familiar a name, and then, Quincy McAdoo, who we got familiar with last year.
Yeah, Landon Jackson and the ends up front are going to be – there's going to be plenty of depth, and we keep thinking about a two-deep with guys like him and Trajan Jeffcoat, Zach Williams, and Jashad Stewart, the returners. And then you got John Morgan, who transferred in. You got Nico DeValier, who really had a good spring. So I think they're going to have some depth there. Obviously, they need to fill in some more spots at D tackle, because I just don't think you can go into the season with the depth that they're looking at now, which, that's a healthy Torian Carter, a healthy Cam Ball, and then you got Marcus Miller, and, just a couple of other guys. So, and Eric Gregory. So you're going to have to fill in there. And in the secondary, Hudson Clark, Jaden Johnson, Malik Chavis, those are your probably top three safety type guys. And I think, you might end up having to see somebody who is a corner. And we saw some of this in the spring game when Lorando Snacks Johnson, who's the cornerback, was playing a good bit of nickel. So they understand they're going to have depth there the way they did last year, be versatile, meaning guys can play multiple positions back there, and that they have to add through the portal at safety. I don't think there's any question about that.
Tom, you just spoke to the defensive line. When you flip it to the offensive line, is there a player that didn't start last year that you think has solidified himself as a clear starter, or a guy that you've been impressed with the practices of the spring game that you watched?
Well, we don't get to see enough of the team periods well, I will say this. Devin Manuel is the one at left tackle who appears to be on track to be a starter.
6'9", right? 6'9"?
Yeah, 6'9". He's lost a lot of weight. He came in, you could tell he was a big guy, but he needed to be more agile, and he's lost that weight. And so he's got the frame to do it. If he's got, Sam Pittman knows how to recruit O-linemen. And so if he's got the ankles and the footwork to handle left tackle, they could be in good shape there. And they ended up moving Patrick Kudus, who's an inside guy, to right tackle. Does that mean you're concerned about your depth at tackle? I think it does. And so they're going to have to, cross-train. Brady Latham's got to be able to move out to tackle if they need him. But also some guys like Chamblee and Demarion Harris have got to come along and be able to help you at tackle. So I do believe they feel pretty comfortable on the interior guys. But when camp rolls around, making sure you got your tackles in place is going to be a big deal for this team.
Tom, one of the things that really stood out to me in Coach Pittman's press conference was what he talked about in the portal, how he learned. I don't know if he necessarily alluded to it as a mistake, but he's going to let guys talk to their position coaches first before they talk to him. They had a heavy number of guys hit the portal in the offseason. Do you expect a decent amount of turnover from this roster in the coming days and weeks?
Well, they have had guys enter the portal after spring ball the last couple of years, or at least during it. Mike Woods from a couple of years ago, and then and I think Dorian Gerald did last year, but came back, and there was a couple of others. I think Keelan Burrow, the linebacker. I think it's going to be a low number, if any, and I think Sam Pittman clearly was alluding to a scenario in which maybe the position coach felt like if they had time to talk to a guy who left, that they might have prevented that. He's made it clear they really would prefer to keep their current roster and only add the 8. Well, I guess it would be 7 now. Transfer guys to supplement the roster and to help. But if they do lose a couple, we shouldn't be surprised. It's just the nature of the game right now.
Yeah. I want to come back to the offense for a minute because I think one of the noticeable things was the quarterback being under center, and you're going to see more of that from KJ this year. And then also, I don't know how much we can take away from what we saw Saturday, but it's pretty evident that the tempo might be the biggest change in the offense, Tom. I think that tempo and the fact that Arkansas is going to play at a more deliberate pace may be just what this defense also needs in this year with so much transition.
Yeah, it did seem like I was able to write down a play and then, have a second to look up and before they snapped. And there were times with Kendall Briles calling plays, they wanted to go fast. They wanted to get the defense in position to, rush substitutions or be ill-prepared at the snap. And I think if the Dan Enos style offense has a position to get a defense off balance, they will do that. But it does seem to me that they make a lot of the snap, the reads before the snap, and they'll be at the line a little bit. So it is going to be different. I thought they worked pretty well at fast tempos, but when your defense is giving up the amount of yardage that Arkansas has, sometimes holding on to the ball, frustrating opposing offenses a little bit, is a good thing. And, we're not going to find out if it's how this suits Arkansas until we get into the games next fall.
And I guess we won't know, fully, but I just wonder how much this team will go to the line, and instead of KJ reading and changing, he'll look to the sideline and they'll take a little more time, and Dan Enos will be more involved in the changing of the player, the checks at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I think there'll be some of that. No question about it. Trying to read what the guys in the secondary are doing, having motions to try to set up, who they want to try to expose, position they want to attack. That will all be part of it. And a lot of KJ's, new study and work is from the pro style side of things. And he did talk about how a lot of times his reads last year were at a certain point, and now it's more a full play, like what's happening before we snap the ball, and then the things we need to do after the ball snaps. So it looks to me like KJ is going to be a well-rounded guy at reading defenses and understanding the places he needs to get his teammates the ball.
Yeah. Tom, good stuff. Thursday, let's talk about Arkansas and Georgia as they'll kick off the weekend series a day early down at Athens.
Sounds like a plan. Look forward to talking to y'all then.
Get analysis of every play, prop, and point at BetOnline. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to sign up and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Be sure to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts.